They don't ask about insurance, they don't ask about retirement.
They want to know how much money.
No, how much am I gonna make?
That's right.
And boy, I think this is putting people in a box that they're not gonna be able to get out of at some later time and date. So, that said, this is, I guess what I wanna know is you have to make a conscious decision that you are going to continue to pick up the same amount you would for any employee, but then know that they're gonna have multiple choices. They can have you match an additional 1%, 2%, 3%, or 4%. So it isn't gonna cost you any more. It might even cost you.
It'll cost less.
Less if they choose to not put up any of their own money. It'll cost you less. So that's what I need to have from you. I need to know that you're gonna authorize the county to continue along the path of offering up to, the 9.26% portion that you owe.
Well, we're paying that and more already.
Yep.
So we want to keep
It's
new
the
employees
possibility
equal.
to get to 15.26%.
Right. Right. But what are we paying now? Just to
15.26%.
so.
New employees, we want to leave them the same, I would think, right?
Well, all right. Otherwise, that's
Right, you have
We
to.
can't make it less.
No.
well, we can, but that's not fair.
No, that ain't.
But it might be less for you.
It might be
They
less if
opt
they
not to
opt.
put up any of their own
Oh,
money.
yeah.
That's right.
That part.
Okay, you need a motion for that, right?
Yes.
Motion for that.
So move
How do you want to word that?
Oh.
Just kidding.
to pass it as it is.
I'll second.
Second it. Old Vine, Young Vine. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next one, resignation of Jeff Huss. Okay, he retired. You got this. We need a motion to approve that, right?
You should, even though you don't hold any cards to say, no, you can't leave.
I would entertain a motion to accept the resignation of Jeff Huss and congratulate him on serving Wells County in his past years of service.
I'll just move that, yeah.
Okay,
Same
so
as what
moved.
you said.
Boone and
Yeah.
How many years did he work?
13.
any other questions on
Discussion,
that?
is he kind of in line to do some of that fairground work?
No, that's
Different
Huey.
one.
Oh, that's,
Yeah,
Different
that's
one.
Huey. Huey's still with us. He's gonna pull the plug by spring. It may be earlier, but Jeff, after we had a little retirement gathering for him on Thursday night, Jeff is collecting some Social Security from his wife, widowed wife, or he's widowed. And Jeff would entertain the option if we needed some help to come back part-time summer help next summer. But he would be limited to his earnings at that point.
Yeah.
So,
That's
you
your
know,
discretion.
yeah, it would be, if you need some help and you want, a guy to come in and make $1,000 a month and maybe work a week here hauling gravel or whatever, he would be open to that. But yeah, he is retired. Huey is the one that will be retiring soon and would love to have the fair board job, or the fairgrounds.
I
Yep.
There's a motion on the floor. Any other questions on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, now, any other questions for Brent as far as those employers? Okay. Two Rivers Rural Ambulance District.
All right, this is just FYI, but
Oh.
we have property in Wells County that's part of the Rockford ambulance that is not, they've never been taxed for that. And it's the same thing in the northern part of the county with the formation of the Maddock Ambulance District as a taxing entity. They've had ambulance for years, both of them have, but they're now a taxing entity. Changes in the state law, there's been gaps in places, okay, and there are no more. So they have to form their district, which is a process. Maddock has done theirs, and they could have taxed this year, but I mean, they let it get down to the 11th hour. And I actually created the Maddock Ambulance District against just a little bit of property in the northern part of the county, but New Rockford recognized that this is a process for county auditors, and they said, we'll just slow down and wait. So this letter tells you when they're meeting. It's November 20th, 7 o'clock at the Community Ambulance Service in New Rockford. So if you own property over in the Bremen area, and, that part of the county is gonna be part of this district, and that will be on their tax bill next year, so.
We don't need a motion or anything,
No.
that's just FYI too, so, okay. Oh, geez, yeah, the two additions to the agenda. Zoning board issue, Boone,
Zoning board issue. Oh,
you brought it up.
yeah. Bob Martin wants to be the one be on the zoning board in district in Bryan, that part of the county.
Am I that far south? Because they changed
Or did it? I don't know, in the zone, I thought it was in District 5, but
well,
it's
they changed the lines.
we need one in Pheasant and they needed one down in that part of the county. And Bob Martin called me and said he would do it.
Who used to be on there that
Huh?
isn't anymore?
district.
No, well, over there, and I don't know what it got all.
Well, zoning board though is
It's
different.
different.
The zoning board is different, I think. But anyway, he wants to be on that part of the county on the zoning board. We were at that meeting.
It was Flick that was on there before, wasn't
Oh,
it?
Mike Flick,
Yeah, and, right,
right.
And hadn't been to a meeting.
He
in
doesn't ever
years.
come to meetings.
right. Bob Martin wants to be on there.
What's
is all.
the formal
Well, next month when we
reorganize?
do all our
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
reorganization, that would be a proper time to address that.
Well, we could appoint him.
And you're gonna have some other entities, whether it's that or there's
School-
other
school
positions you're gonna have
redistricting.
to appoint and so on.
Right, I think there's some openings to some of the rest of that stuff. So, but that, yeah.
Well, I just wanted to bring it up
Nope.
because,
Well, it's not very often we get people volunteering, so that's
Right.
good.
And I'll relay that to Jana also. Okay. Any other, we missed anything here?
And sheriff's budget.
All right, Brian, sheriff's budget.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion. Due to unwillingness to communicate, due to unattendance to monthly meetings, a 5% reduction penalty on sheriff's budget per meetings per month will be enforced if he fails to communicate and attend meetings. Now, I know that they got more deputies now and everything, but it seems like we go through this cycle of, we get some communication, we get things going, then for 5-6 months we get nothing, everything's kind of quiet. So I made it small, it's his choice, and if he chooses to do that, that's his business. I made it that way so it didn't sound too mean, but I think we need to address that.
Okay. Motion on the floor. Is there a second? And then we discuss it. According to Robert's Rules and Orders, you need a second for a motion before there's discussion.
I'll second that. I guess I got something to say about that.
Well, okay, second by Brian, and now we can discuss
now we can discuss.
it. Go ahead.
So, our last meeting was October 3rd, I think it was, right?
Yep,
I talked to Chris the day before, and he had not mentioned anything to me about hiring a new deputy. I talked to him for 20 minutes probably, and then I didn't know at the meeting that we had a new deputy until I seen it in the paper. And she started October 3rd, the day of our meeting. That was not brought up one bit to me.
that's lack of communication on his part.
Yeah.
And that's what Brian is trying to say here.
I wish Oliver was here because I don't know if we can even require him to come to a meeting.
But he's on the agenda.
Yeah, he's been on
No,
the agenda
no,
many times.
It doesn't matter.
Well, then that question has to be asked Oliver.
Yeah, that's why I said I wish he was
Yeah.
here.
It's a good case in point of what got heated in here earlier. Okay, is an expectation that we all live here, it's a small community, could you tell me what's going on?
Right,
At least
I know.
interact with me,
Oh, I know,
could you
yeah,
provide me
absolutely.
some basic information? And this idea that you're under no obligation, I'm sorry, if you're gonna live around here, you are under obligation. It's unwritten, but you know what? these are the very people that pay your salary. Communicate for crying out loud.
Yeah,
Right.
there's no doubt about it. Legally, what can we do?
Well, and, you know, Brian has a point, whether it's legal or illegal.
We'll find out.
If it's a deal where he can't get here,
Then I understand.
well, no, hear me out. At least, he always, when he's here, gives that sheet that says number of calls and how
Yeah.
it's, he could send that.
Can he send a deputy over from the sheriff's department to explain how it's going too?
That would be another thing, yeah.
Right.
It doesn't
It
have to
just-
be him necessarily, does it?
And he would never let Andy come. Andy told me that himself. Andy says, well, I'll go to the commissioner meeting for you. No, you're not going.
Well, that's his prerogative too.
I know,
But
that's
at
Chris's
least
prerogative.
If he can't be here, how long nowadays can you send a text message or something to us explaining, and like I said, that, he has to do that ahead of time, as far as that number of calls and types of calls, we should be able to get that. I mean, there's no
This
real
morning,
excuse.
This morning on the radio, I had the Devil's Lake going on. They had the report, you know, the last week, all the stuff that's been going on, the dogs,
Yeah.
all that. And I'm not saying it has to be that, but so many of the problems, and I know for a fact, on the big cases and stuff, I know Kris is very capable, and I know he's willing. But there's a lot of this day-to-day stuff that is just, and that part, you know, people want to know, how come they can't get a hold of the sheriff's department? I get that call all the time. We call and call and call. And there's a guy in Harvey, he's got a $5,000 damage on his pickup. And when it happened, he couldn't get anywhere with the Harvey department, so he called the sheriff for 3 hours, couldn't get nowhere. He finally called 911. And so, I mean, this stuff is going on, and of course, the deal with the 71, people are concerned. And I've asked Kris, how many times have I asked him to go down there? Almost every time he's here, I say, can you go down there and do something? Oh, yeah, well, nothing happens.
Yeah, and that's just a deal where
And I mean,
you just do it to appease people, if nothing else.
but here's the thing. If we are paying him, and we're not gonna let him know that he has to do something, we are no different than he is. We're not doing our job. And that's what we're here for. That's part of our,
Gotta hold them accountable.
yeah, we got to hold him accountable.
bit.
And the only way we
That's
can
his job.
is through the budget. That is the only way you can do anything. And whether that's gonna hold any water with him, I don't know. What I'm concerned about is, the people of Wells County are paying their taxes and they like to get something in return. As far as speed and as far as people out on the road doing things, that's basically, if you wanna put it this way, and I know this is gonna sound nasty, but when he is not doing his job, and there's this stuff going on, he is like stealing out of the taxpayers' pockets, because he's not doing his job. If they're wrecking roads because they're not paying attention, and I know we've heard it all today, but I'm saying, that's kinda what it's like. And I don't mean to keep going off on this, but I think it's fair to the taxpayers of Wells County. So, take it for what it's worth.
We have a motion on the floor. Any questions or discussions? Dan, you want to read that back?
Give me a second here. This, Brian Lount motion, Brian Miller seconded, to a 5% reduction of department's budget for future failure to attend commission meetings and communicate with the board.
I'd feel a lot more comfortable voting on it if state's attorney looked it over. Because you can get yourself into trouble.
Right.
That's right.
Then, okay, I understand what you said. Then why is it always said we can control through the budget, and now we want to do something and now we
Because then
can't?
you should have brought this up at budget time.
Well, no.
No, I have brought this up at budget time.
No,
That's what
no,
we should've-
but it's the way it's worded in that requiring him to come to a meeting. Doc had a good
Yeah,
point.
okay.
I don't know
Okay,
if that's a legal reason.
okay, how are you gonna deduct, because I asked that at the budget meeting, they said we can lower it any time through the year. Now we can't, what's the story?
No, you can,
Yeah,
but
We had a complaint today, what else do we need?
My point is,
I understand what you're saying.
So what reasons can we lower it for?
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'd like a legal opinion.
For
We need a legal
underperformance or,
well, that's a vague term.
yeah.
You know, we've gone through this forever in
How
that
about
an elected
if we
position.
table this and we do a little telephonic deal if Oliver looks at this in the next couple days?
See, there's a fine line of micromanaging a department too. You know?
Especially when they're elected.
Yeah.
It's a whole different ballgame if
And I
they're not
totally
elected.
understand where you're coming from.
I get it, Brian, and I totally agree that there's no reason he can't be here, or at least give us information on how long would it take to write a one-page summary of activities throughout the last month?
Yeah.
You
Okay,
know.
now answer this question. So I go get pulled over out on the highway, right? And they come to my window and I start cussing and screaming at them and hollering, you can't do this and that. What does that do? That raises my fine, okay? Now, every time somebody asks him something about stuff, when you confront him about what's going on, you ask simple questions, his standard gets right up. So, if we use the same tactic he uses when he picks somebody up, do we get to raise the fine? Do you understand where I'm going with this?
Well, at the end of the day, will it help the situation? You think the sheriff's department will then operate in a more efficient manner? I mean, that's what we really want to
I know that,
accomplish here.
so then why do we even have rules and laws?
Well,
I'm puzzled.
We definitely need him to communicate more.
Yeah.
That's,
Right.
He's
that's
not
for sure.
communicating at all.
And if this is
Not
one
very
way to
much.
get him to do it, I mean, I see that, but.
Big fix
I
is
mean,
election.
and like I said, it doesn't have to be him. If a deputy came in and.
Can I make a suggestion? Why don't you guys learn what his rules and laws are? Then you can hold him accountable to what he's supposed to be doing. If you don't know what his rules and laws are, you don't know how to hold him accountable. Do you know everything about it though?
well,
It's
Now
not a
we're
whole
gonna
lot of
define
information.
everything.
It's not a whole lot of information.
no.
But there's enough in what he is supposed to be doing, to be able to hold him accountable when he is not doing it.
You're talking century code.
Oh no. This
Of
is
what
above
he's supposed
century
to.
code.
we've looked at that in the past. And Brian has a legitimate, the most direct way is manipulation, if you want to call it, or controlling the budget. Okay.
And we're basing it on communication and stuff, so,
Yeah,
it's vague.
it's vague. A lot of that's vague.
If you want to find out what he needs to do, they're actually holding post classes. That's the information that the sheriffs all have to go to for their education. Okay, it's going to be in Dickinson on Saturday at 4:00.
Is there
And
online stuff for this?
no, I don't believe it's going to be online. It's going to be in person.
What's it called again?
It's actually Kris Ann Hall is coming in to do some post class. It's police officers and sheriffs training classes. The public can attend. You can find out what they are supposed to be doing, and then if they are not following what they're supposed to be doing, then you have the ability to hold them accountable. I can get you the exact information where it will be held at because I plan to attend that.
That sounds like a good workshop. Okay.
Ward County, remember hearing what was it, or was that a police chief? But they
It was a
tried,
police chief.
they tried to do that and they're into a big time lawsuit right now. That's what I'm afraid of there.
All right, you have to be careful as to what you wish for. All right, any other comments or discussions on that? We technically have a motion on the floor and it was seconded, unless you guys want to rescind those in lieu of a state's attorney's opinion. If not, I'm gonna have to call for a vote. Hearing none. I'll call for the vote. I want a roll call vote. All those in favor of Brian's motion signify by saying aye or nay. Brian?
Aye.
Doc?
I'm gonna have to go no until I hear the state's attorney.
I'm.
Young Brian.
Okay.
I'll say aye.
I am gonna say the same thing as Dennis, because I'd like to know what Oliver says about it, so we don't.
You don't have to justify your reason, yes or no? No, right?
No,
You're saying no.
against, yes, unless Oliver looks at it.
And I'll say no also. The motion fails. Now, we're not done here yet. We want Oliver to take a look at this, right? As to, more specifically, as to what the commission can do to modify, what do I call it, sheriff's activities? That's not the right word for it.
Sheriff's communications,
Communication, performance.
some
Performance is a broad term.
Yeah, that's
What-
pretty tough.
Define that, you know? But communication is one of them.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, our world's biggest problem is communication.
Responsibilities?
There you go,
Yeah.
there you go, now we're getting.
Or responsibilities, right. Responsibilities would be better than performance,
Yeah.
because
Right.
performance is a result of doing your responsibilities or not doing them.
The only question I have, unless it bites, I don't think it's gonna go anywhere, to be really honest.
Well, no, Oliver will give us a response.
I realize that, but I'm just saying, it's gonna have to bite before the wake-up comes. That's why I brought what I did, I'm sorry.
With the new deputy, without seeing it in the paper and them actually stopping out at our business, I wouldn't have known she would have been on board with us.
Well, there's an example though of, it's not the right thing to do, but he breaks no rules.
Well, no, but just,
Simple communication.
I
it
know,
would've been nice
especially
to
he's
know.
your portfolio,
Yeah.
right, I know, I totally agree with you, I know, I
We all
don't
know,
get
we
it,
all know the problem.
yeah.
right. So, okay, next department, we gonna deal with that today,
I think you got to,
we do,
don't you?
can't we table this till next month?
Why let
It's
it,
not on the agenda,
Well,
He was on the
Part
agenda.
of it.
it's come to you, you can read it, you're not taking any action on it, but you can
no,
read
we
it.
can't take action on this today,
You can read it.
can we read this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I, Dale Schmitz, formally request on November 7, 2024, that the Wells County Commission remove Larry Skipton from the Wells County Water Board. Larry Skipton has demonstrated reckless behavior by adding more culverts to push higher volumes of water in Wells County Drain 1. With, oh man, that structure here is a little shaky. Without any regards to township roads and landowners whose property is being flooded and damaged. Larry Skipton has also showed abuse of power by telling township officials that he does not need their permission to cut through township roads and does not have to inform them or provide them with a project plan when he is asked to. Manford Township Chairman, Wells County landowner and taxpayer, Dale Schmitz, and it was signed by him.
And that goes along with him being here on your agenda. so,
Right, it's on the
you're-
agenda,
You're not
and
gonna take any
request-
action on it right now, but
we will put this, think about it, and we'll act on it in the December meeting.
another communication problem,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
but that's not all true there, because I don't think the flow changed at all, so.
No, where, them 3 culverts we talked about, where you talked about, Brent, if that hasn't changed, how can the water get that much heavier there? It can't.
Well,
It's the same,
It technically can, because if
Well, they were
one
plugged
one
before.
out of that 3 was plugged,
Yeah,
but
right.
way back
Right.
in the day, no, it hasn't changed at all.
I mean,
The one thing, the only thing to my, that I'm aware of that has changed is at that section line there. In between that section line and the highway, there was also, an approach through the drain for the farmer to get from one side of the drain to the other. Okay?
the other thing that's changed.
And those
Brian
3
brought-
culverts were removed.
Brian brought it up, there's a lot more tiling and all that stuff
Mhm.
now. But most of this is climate and weather related. That's where it flows.
The control point is at 1 mile south of the highway. Larry is correct on that.
Them 3 culverts.
Those 3 culverts. And they were not brought up in size. They were the same size.
That'd be the best spot to gate.
Well, after
Yeah, if
that,
you're gonna gate it, but
That's the way.
that's why nothing has been enlarged there, like he's saying. It hasn't been.
Well, that depends on how the word is, how it's worded. If the water board wanted to come up with a plan to restrict that, to keep things working right from the other end, I'm sure their lawyers could come up with something.
no, I don't think they can because that's impeding the people upstream.
You can't,
Did they
can't
care about the
modify.
people downstream when they put it in?
that's as old as.
I know it is, but I'm just saying is put a flow meter on there and find out how much water goes through there. I mean, what I'm trying to get at here is, the guys downstream get the shaft all the time.
The water is all backed up upstream though.
That's old
Yeah.
as history.
But
That's the thing. That's
But
what
what I'm trying to
I don't
figure out is,
understand. The flooding is
is
It's backed
upstream.
up
how
right
come
out
in
here.
Pierce County you can't
Right up to
drain?
Pheasant.
It's backed up
They
the
gotta
rest
hold
of
their
it.
water in Pierce County, they haven't got a choice.
Draining is a whole,
Did you understand what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely, but draining is an emotional issue.
I know it's
never
emotional,
gonna
but
change.
what I can't follow is, all these people, way back when, got together to get rid of their water, okay?
right?
What gave them the right to dump it on somebody else's? How come in Pierce County you can't?
They went through the legal process back in the 80s. I
think
mean, these
there was
legal
quite a little-
drains, they
I
had
think there was
hearings.
quite a little shady work that went on there. I know
Well,
there was.
Brian,
Well,
everything
right now-
isn't a conspiracy theory.
No,
I'm
I
sorry.
know what happened.
Even right now, 80 acres, you can do tile and whatever you want without, that going on all the
So
time.
how do you justify saying that this guy can drain when the drain is not designed to handle that much? Where does that law come in?
Well, legally, you can't drain according to farm policies anymore.
But I mean-
After 1985, you can't drain.
Right, but this thing was put in to handle so much water. Now there's a lot more water, so where's the legal on that? The water board doesn't care about that. That's one of the things they should be doing as a water board, to keep that drain the same it was supposed to be designed for.
It is, but the water board doesn't have jurisdiction if Brian Miller illegally drains 80 acres into this drain. The water board doesn't have legal jurisdiction to go after him.
Who does?
The soil conservation does.
And they won't touch it.
They have in the past, but it's gotta be pretty blatant and, you know.
There's another one
And
over
if
by
they're not in
Harvey.
the farm program, there's nothing that can be done.
Well, and if they're not in the farm program, although most people are. If they're not in the farm program.
There's
there's
some that
nothing to
aren't
do.
though. There's some that aren't.
Right.
Because there's another one over by Harvey, north of the canal. Jim English is in his township. He's talked to me many times about it. He said, there's no way that drain can handle all that's going through there now. They got a mess over there. It's gotta go under the deal. He said, that thing backs up all the time.
I know, I agree it's a problem, but.
I'm just
it boils
saying,
down to
where does
jurisdiction.
where does fairness come in this deal? That's what I wanna know.
Trouble is, it changes every year too,
I know,
how
I
big of a
understand.
problem it is. One year it's not a problem probably, and the next year it could be a big problem.
It's very easy to identify the problem, it's really tough to find a solution.
Right. Alright,
A little bit of humorous. I farmed in Rolette County in the 80s, and when that law came in, but prior to that law, the federal law, up in Rolette County, they were building this Channel A to Devil's Lake. And the hydrologist kept telling us, drain, drain, we need all the water.
alright,
Well, you know what happened to Devil's Lake, and you know what we did.
sometimes be careful what you wish for, because.
I lived up at Starkweather during that time.
You bet. You seen the water come.
This is pretty piddly compared to the stuff that went on there.
That's correct. But we drained, and we drained everything we could because we knew the farm program was
In
coming in.
85 is coming, right, alright. Okay,
All right,
But it's true.
department head meeting, you see that, next commission meeting Thursday, December 5th, 6th county meeting, December 7th, or December 10th. I think that's an important one.
that's in Napoleon, isn't it?
Coming, Logan County. Is that
Oh,
Napoleon?
Yeah, it's Napoleon, not Napoleon.
Alright. We got nothing else, right?
I don't think so.
Motion to adjourn.